Today's Talking Primitive, we're gonna talk about form archery, long draw and short draw, and benefits of different things, one way or the other. But this is kind of like my final video on discussing anything that has to do with form archery compared to like things that I shoot, because I've got videos on my YouTube channel of me shooting my particular style. It's like a short draw, kind of a snap shooting, and I also have a video regarding shooting short plains bows. And I know you can't ever please everybody, because that's just the nature of difference, you know, between people in general. So no matter what I say, it'll never please somebody. But you know, when you have over, you know, say 7,000 views on a video and there's only 4 dislikes, you know, you're really not doing too bad. But I kind of like to pride myself on giving real facts about things and opinions that matter. They're not just emotional opinions, but more so based on experience. And I kind of attribute that as to why I think pretty well received on the internet, because I'm not out there just throwing emotions out or yelling at people, telling them they're doing things wrong, that type of thing. There's no right and wrong way to archery. There absolutely isn't, and I'm going to explain it, and this will be the very final last one. And the reason that there is no right and wrong way is because not everybody's goals in archery are the same, and different ways of doing things can be used to accomplish different things. Now, I know there's a lot of the form archery guys out there that, and it seems like it's always this, the form archery guys tear up everybody that doesn't shoot form archery, but then the people that don't shoot form archery, just they don't even bother trying to tear up the guys with form archery. And I kind of think I understand what it is coming down to. You know, form archery takes this level of dedication to make sure that you're doing everything exactly correct every single time. You have proper form when shooting. And I oftentimes think that what happens is people spend years learning proper form archery to shoot really well, the style that they want to shoot, and then somebody will come along that kind of threatens everything that they've done. And I'm not saying that every form archer is like that, but I see this being that they've invested themselves into learning form archery, and then somebody else like myself comes along and then kills a bunch of deer. And I think it steps on their toes, you know, knowing that I don't use form archery, and it almost like it makes them feel like their investment over the years wasn't worth it. Maybe, I'm not sure. Again, I'm not accusing anybody of that, but that's what it seems like to me. Like, and then they immediately get defensive and say, "Well, you're doing it wrong." Well, number one on the list, how am I doing it wrong if I'm killing deer efficiently and ethically every year? I'm not doing it wrong. The difference is I'm doing things differently. Primitive peoples did not all shoot the exact same. Everybody had different grips, different ways they canted the bows, different styles of bows, different draw lengths. Everything was different. And I'm not trying to create a place in archery where we all do the exact same thing. And I'm also not trying to shoot 40 and 50 yards with these bows either. My goal is to replicate what primitive man most likely did himself, because there weren't books and internet, and you didn't have the traditional police out telling you that you're doing things wrong. They did what they were taught by their peoples that figured it out on their own, and they were successful at bringing, you know, game home or defending their place. You know, we don't see anywhere where people that used form archery completely dominated people that didn't. So, but And what this comes down to is you telling somebody that form archery is the only way to shoot and be successful is like telling somebody that the only way to successfully drive is to have a fuel-efficient 4-cylinder. You know, it's not everybody's. If your goal in an automobile is to have fuel efficiency, then yeah, you want a little 4-cylinder car. Maybe your goals in driving may be that you want better off-road capabilities, and fuel efficiency does not apply to you. And that's kind of the same thing with archery when you think about it. If you want great accuracy at longer ranges, there's absolutely no replacement, in my opinion, for form archery. I have no problem with form archery, and I don't know why. I'm an advocate for not form archery if used in the right context. I don't ever tell anybody to go get one of these little Indian bows, as a lot of folks call them, and then expect to go shoot 40 and 50 yards in a tournament and win. And, I've tried to explain this to a lot of the other guys about it, but it's like they just don't get it. My goal is not to shoot that long distance. My goal is to get 10 or so yards, 10, 15 tops from an animal and shoot it with a little, I like the short bows, but even a longer bow for that matter. The bows isn't the important part. But I like to be close, shoot it with a natural materials bow, natural materials arrow, and a stone point stuff that I made all myself, which closely replicates a situation which primitive man would have done, with the exception that primitive man would have shot at longer distances without fear of wounding or ethics, because it was a matter of food for them. In today's day and age, we don't have that luxury, or I should say we have the luxury of not having to do that. So we don't have to just fling arrows at a long distance. But it's like, the form archers that want to say that this is the only way you can do it if you want to do it good, or saying that you're shooting wrong, is no different than a compound guy telling a traditional archer, or even a form archer, that you're doing it wrong because you don't have sights. And it's exactly true. And I know that people have a hard time understanding that, but people want to do different things. If you want to shoot far and shoot really accurate, good, consistent groups, long distance, then form archery is what you want. But then you also don't want, most likely, a self bow per se, unless you're shooting against other people with self bows. And you don't want cane or hardwood arrows. Most times you're going to be wanting to shoot carbons. And that's fine too, if you're using it in that context in which you're wanting to accomplish something. And like I said, me personally, I want to shoot game up close and personal. And one thing that aids me in being successful in doing that is shooting a shorter bow and not shooting a great big long form draw. And I've said this many times before, and I'll say it again. If I've got a long bow like this, and that I'm telling myself I have to shoot with form archery that would give me, say, a 27-inch draw, then if I've got a deer at 15 yards, not only is that a bigger motion to have to pull all the way back and line everything out with form archery on a deer that's that close, but also if there's any obstruction and I have to try to maneuver down or hunker down a little bit, or cant the bow or anything different than what proper form tells me, I can't get the shot, and it limits me as to what I can do. Where on the other hand, if I've got this little short bow, I can, and I'm accustomed and I practice shooting, at more of a cant, at less of a cant, and I'm shooting these closer distances, then this is going to afford me a lot more opportunities to killing the animal than this big long one, and that is what I'm after. To me, archery is not about, and this is my personal feeling, my personal feeling. Archery, to me, what I want to accomplish is not about shooting a deer at 30 yards with a stick bow. To me, hunting is about getting 12 yards and in from an animal that doesn't know you're there, and just delivering an easy slam dunk of a shot right through the vitals every single time. To me, that is what excites me. Not everybody has that same feeling. There's a lot of folks out there that say, to me, a great hunter is somebody that can shoot a deer at 40 yards, and that's your opinion. To me, I say that's a great archer. And I've heard people like Jimmy Blackman, for example. People have said, "Oh, you guys, must not really get along." Well, honestly, I've never met the guy, and I have nothing against him other than that we disagree on shooting styles, because he's a huge advocate for form archery, and I'm a huge advocate for short draw, snap shoot type of more Native American style of archery. But it's totally different. I've got nothing against him at all, and I've got nothing against the way he shoots. He's a great instructor and a great distance archer, But what he's doing is totally different than the thing that I'm doing. And when I finally was able to kind of talk to him on the internet about that, it kind of buried the hatchet. I feel we haven't had any sort of disagreements ever since. So that's what I'm trying to convey in this video, especially the folks that look at my other videos and will give me a dislike or say something, negative about the way that I'm shooting, that it's not the right way to shooting. Newsflash, get over yourself, because there are more than one ways to do things, especially in archery. Just because you shoot form archery and somebody else doesn't mean they're wrong. And time again, I've said, how can I be wrong if I am killing deer every year? And that's the part that I think gets under their skin the most, that they dedicate their time to doing it. And some of these other guys, may not be killing deer. They may not be successful in the woods. And I think they're a little bit sore that they've invested so much time into form archery, whether they really want to admit it or not, I don't know. And then they see a guy like me that's doing everything totally opposite and being successful. And it's got nothing to do with the way that you shoot or even the bow that you shoot. It comes down to the amount of time you spend in the woods, the amount of years that you've been hunting to accumulate skill and information, that you can experience, that you can use in the woods. And lastly, being in a place that has game, that plays a big role in it as well. But whether you shoot a long bow or a short bow, a short draw, or a big full form archery, draw, it doesn't matter. And so, again, the folks that are telling people that that you're not doing it right, or the folks that get on me telling me, that you're promoting bad form, again, get over yourselves. You don't know anything about archery if you are so close-minded enough to think that there's only one way to do things in life. Not everybody has the same goals as you do. So if you want to shoot a long, full form draw, go for it. There's nothing wrong with it at all. All I'm saying is, if you want to be 10 yards from deer on the ground, chances are your best style of shooting is going to be the style that I shoot. Now, I'm not saying you can't shoot a deer 10 yards on the ground with form archery, because you can. But more often than not, I'm presented with shots that I couldn't have made if I was shooting a long bow in form archery. But if I've got a little short bow that I can basically pull halfway back, and as soon as the deer comes out the rest of the way, as soon as its head goes behind a tree in that split second, I rip it back and give it to him right there. And it's in that instant that you need to shoot. I wouldn't have been able to do that had I been required to stand upright, shoulders square, get everything lined up and shoot, because that deer would have seen me before I ever even got the string pulled back. So again, there's different ways to do things. Stop telling people that there's only one way to do things, and stop getting on my YouTube channel and trying to shame me for doing things different than you do. If you don't like it, go watch somebody else's channel. If you want to learn real things about archery, primitive hunting, and doing things outside the box, different, then subscribe to my channel and watch the things that I do, because I do not read books and regurgitate information that other people have written. I don't read books and put it to practical use the way other things have done. I write books about how I'm successful doing the things that I do.